back to This Week in Lacrosse, presentation of Lacrosse Inside the Game. My name is Gary Mark, along with Ron Messer. And Ron, nice shirt you got there.
Yeah, not bad. Yeah, company issue.
You're waiting for the car, are you?
Yeah.
So we're going to start off this week. We're going to recap the NLL games from last week. But just before we do that, there's a new field lacrosse team coming to Toronto, and we found out about that on Friday night at the Rock game.
Yeah, are you ready, folks? Okay, the Toronto Nationals, the newest team in the Mill League. That's the Major Lacrosse League. That's the Pro Field Lacrosse League, Gary, for people who don't understand that. It comprises of 6 teams from across the United States and now 1 in Canada.
Yeah, and they had, Dan DeLevy was on the floor at halftime with President and GM Stu Brown. Mm-hmm. We know Stu from the Edge program.
Friend of LITG,
he did with Edge there. And he also had Brody Merrill on the floor, but I mean, looking at the lineup of the team, holy Lord, it's a who's who of lacrosse.
Well, I'm just going to harken back to the logo here for a minute.
Yeah.
You get the Canada symbol, and across the bottom we've got the Iroquois Nation symbols involved, and the purple of the Iroquois Nations around the outside to complement the red. That's because, Gary, this team is going to comprise of the best Canadian field lacrosse players and the best Iroquois Nation field lacrosse players. It's going to act as like a training camp for these two teams, so that when we go back on the world stage in next year, 2010, that will be well represented, and it'll be a team that's worked together, and we hope to bring the World Championship back to this side of the pond again.
Yeah, and I think, what's the catch side? It was two nations, one team?
Yes, that's right. That's right.
So, I mean, when you consider the players that are in this area, whether it's Iroquois or Team Canada, well, Lordy, oh Lordy.
There's no comparison.
No, and I just, I'm looking forward to it. The only question I guess I have is, and we've talked about this a little bit, is the effect that this might have on major series across the summer.
Yeah, well, it's going to be played at the BMO Field. That's at the Canadian National Exhibition Grounds down the Lakeshore in Toronto, where the local, what's that other game, soccer team plays. It's a 22,000 seat facility. From what I understand, they're only going to be utilizing the south side of the stands.
Okay.
Because, frankly, from the people in the know that I was talking to about the other night, they would like and be very happy with 6,000 to 7,000 fans a game, and that would be their break-even point, maybe to make a couple of bucks.
Right.
But that'll be one side of the field, so I guess that would probably be around 9,000 or 10,000, which would be great to see, to show some support for our team.
Right. But the effect on major series across, I mean, there's, I guess, 2 frames of mind. Is that this has taken away from the teams in the past, the team's ability to get players to play here, because obviously these guys are getting paid to play field lacrosse, and to some lesser degree they're being paid in major series, but it's not the same kind of money.
No. That's
always been an issue. However, a lot of them were traveling down to the States. Now that they're here in Toronto, could that potentially be a good thing for major series lacrosse?
It could be, because you got the likes of Gavin Prout, Jeff Sawicki, John Gray Jr.,
Colin Doyle,
some of these guys that played for the Brooklyn Redmen and the Peterborough Lakers, that had to say, guys, I guess this dude here is waving, $800 a game under my nose, and and I love your free beer and stuff, but it just ain't cutting it.
Right.
But with the proximity of the team here in Southern Ontario, now these guys may be able to split their time between the two. I hope they do, because I don't want it to be at the detriment of our game, the box lacrosse game, by any means.
Yeah, absolutely, and I think a lot of people feel the same way. They'd love to see this fly. They hope it does well, but hopefully not, to hurt the MSL. So, and looking at their schedule, it looks like most games are Friday nights and
Friday nights and Saturdays. Yeah. Around 7 o'clock at night, 7:30 at night. Some of the starts there, so which means to be played under the lights, which will give it a kind of a little bit of a colorful aspect. And if they get some TV here, I think field lacrosse would play better on television on a night game as opposed to a day game.
Right.
I know in my short experience with field lacrosse, I did the 2006 World Championships down in London. I did the announcing there. It was a pretty exciting game because it was international. But I always, when I was sitting up there thinking, man, this would play a lot better under the lights. Yeah. So obviously that's what they're going to do.
Sure. So moving on to the NLL, this past weekend, who would have thought going into the weekend, Minnesota will go 0-2, Colorado will go 0-2, and Boston will go 2-0.
And Philly won.
And Philly.
What up with that? Really, it's starting to confuse the heck out of me.
Yeah. Here we are again last year.
Yeah. But I guess that's what makes the NLL what it is. That's going to be, has become a recurring theme over the past few years. and that mathematically every team still has a possibility to make it to the championship
Right.
game, even halfway through the season.
Yeah, and our apologies to Terry. What's his name?
Terry from Edmonton.
Yeah.
Oh, Terry, very sorry, very sorry.
I don't know what. We were obviously a little bit rushed for time last week, and I think it's the first time ever we've just not mentioned a game on here. Terry, our apologies. We did get the picks in. Of course, you got it right and I got it wrong.
Yeah.
That was Colorado, one of Colorado's 2 losses. As I said, I don't know what we were thinking, but our apologies to all the people out there at Edmonton.
Yes.
And
Great
one thing I'll assure you, we won't miss you again for the rest of the year.
No.
And maybe I'll figure it out and pick Edmonton and get a win out of it. So, but as we were saying, though, Colorado went 0-2 on the weekend. Last night, Sunday night, they lost in Edmonton 10-9. Talk about the Rush for a little bit. I mean, you know, one of those teams that we didn't necessarily think would do great, but they, you know, the good coach there, Bob Hamley. The trade though for Benesh seems to have really sparked that team, and they are doing well.
Yeah. According to the stats off last night, they drew just under 10,000. I know I was talking to Bruce Barker last week. He was a little bit disappointed at some of the crowds in Edmonton, but you know, they put some people in the building last night with Benesh and Suttons and you say Coach Hamley. You know, and once again, hey, any team, any day. Who'd have thought Boston, an expansion team, would be riding the wave they are right now?
Yeah. So the other game on the weekend, and again, we don't want to harp on these guys every week, but a much better effort by the Rock.
Yeah.
Looked like at halftime, 11-5 over Buffalo. It looked like, boy, they've got them figured out. And Buffalo looked like Toronto did the week before, and Toronto looked like Buffalo did the week before. But second half, I'm not sure what Darius Kilgore said to the boys in the room. Buffalo was a different team in the second half.
17-16 in overtime for the Bandits. And dig this statistic, folks. Mark Steenhouse, 8 goals. John Tavares, 6 goals. So between the two of them, 14 goals between 2 guys. And they just made the Rock defense look silly in the second half.
I'm going to throw something at you here. And I don't mean to catch you on the spot. Why don't you just shut those 2 down?
Yeah. You know, and I slammed the desk up on press row there when Tavares got like his 6th goal. And I said, holy smokes, guys, he's like 40 years old. He's walking around you. And Steenhouse, like, why don't you key on, I guess what they're doing is, well, as soon as you key on Steenhouse, he's going to dish it off and he's going to go over to Tavares. The 2 of them are out there almost unstoppable.
Well, and that's the thing. I mean, he proved the week before with 13 assists that he can dish the ball off, and Buffalo's got enough guys. You know, we didn't hear anything really from Dosty. We didn't hear anything from Weiss. We didn't hear anything from Palace. But on the nights where Steenhouse and Tavares aren't scoring all the goals, it's those guys that are. And Kersey, I mean, there's so many guys. But, you know, I mean, I kind of said that half jokingly, why don't you just shut them down? I mean, these are 2 of the premier players in the league today. As you said, still Tavares at what, 41 years, 42 years of age. Steenhouse is just phenomenal. But I guess the one thing I'm kind of thinking, and you know, I'm not an NLL coach, but I'm just thinking to myself, if he can't get the ball, he can't hurt you. And I mean, Toronto does have enough guys. I think they've got a few guys there that can at least stay with him. And my thought is, in the overtime, I was sitting up in press row with Jeff Garland watching the game. As soon as Steenhouse got the ball down his own end, he said, watch, he's going to go run the floor, he's going to score.
Yeah.
And sure enough, that's exactly what happened.
46 seconds into overtime.
But I guess the question I had was, why, you know, in that case it was a possession call, so you couldn't avoid it, but why let him get the ball in Toronto's end? In my opinion, if those 2 guys are scoring 14 of the goals, you put one guy on Steenhouse, you put one guy on Tavares, and you get right in his face to the point where he cannot get the ball.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's not going to work 100% of the time, and it may not work at all, but I don't think they're going to get 14 goals between the 2 of them.
So for all you coaching staffs in NLL out there that haven't seen the Bandits
listen to us at LITG.
Listen to us at LITG, and if you do shut them down, we want a couple of free beers.
Exactly.
Okay,
so that's pretty much going to wrap up the first bit here. We're going to come back and we'll talk about this week's coming games and give you our fearless picks.